It's like growing up, I could never run the fastest, shocker. I could never throw the ball the furthest. I was never ever the star athlete. But growing up, I was always the most expressive. I was always the most articulate. And for the longest time in my life, I couldn't really identify what it was until I discovered the word creative. All my life, I've always been the most creative. And it's something that I've always cared about. It's translated in the way that I dressed, the way that I carried myself, and the way that I spoke. Furthermore, it translated into the love of my life, which is fine art. I've cared about expressing my feelings. I've cared about expressing other people's feelings. I've cared and I've cared. I found art, and in many ways, I think art found me.
Europe holds far more ancient African artifacts than Africa itself. The Royal Belgian Museum for Central African Art holds over 180,000 objects, exceeding the 50,000 objects found in the United States. This statistic is a clear indication of two things. One, the lingering effects of the colonization and looting that happened in the diaspora. The second one, the lack of art objects and arts found in Africa. Ultimately, African art is devalued in comparison to its European counterparts. Africa, along with South America, only holds 6% of global art market share. This then trickles down into the amount of art opportunities. Local African leaders and governments do not believe in their artists simply because there's no education. Ultimately, Africa is still in an economic crisis. We find that currently governments are spread thin and are not willing to fund these artists. So of course, there was a bunch of solutions that were created to try help these artists. The first one is Art Moves Africa. Art Moves Africa is an initiative that allows African artists to travel across the diaspora in hopes for collaboration and hopes for research. The second one is the AMT mobility funding that gives African artists a chance to go to Europe in order to share their work and market it. However, although these solutions are good, they're not completely effective. There's still a gap. The gap is that African artists don't have a platform where they can sell their art effectively. They don't have a showcase for their work. And secondly, there's still a clear disconnect in the amount of art education available in Africa. Growing up in South Africa, there was always a very important word to my community, Sisonke. It is an accountability word, one that binds and holds us together. Sisonke is the way that we are going to help these artists. What Sisonke will be is that it will be an African art hub. It will be a pioneer showcase for these artists to be able to distribute their work, sell their work. Lastly, it will also be, not lastly, Sisonke is also going to be an artist trade and marketing hub that's going to allow these artists to sell exclusive content, behind the scenes work, and make money off their art. And ultimately, the main purpose of Sisonke is to be an academic institution that is going to educate leaders from Africa about the importance of African art to help grow it. African art is functional. It serves a purpose. It is not dormant. It does not mean to collect the largest cheering section. It should be inspirational and a source of joy. Ultimately, we, me, you, Sisonke, accountability, can help these African artists find a place and change their families' lives. Thank you.